To Republicans who say that this is something that could contribute to inflation, I think there was one Senate Republican who called him the Mad Hatter for pushing for this at a time when inflation is off the hook. What would you say to that?
Tell you that our team, senior White House officials, have been in close touch already over the last several days on moving our Build Back Better agenda forward. For anyone who's criticizing, I would say that the way, and we saw, I would say, in recent weeks, even with the votes of Republicans, every Republican in the House went on the record voting against steps that many economists have said would ease inflation. They voted to raise taxes essentially on middle-class families. We know that Build Back Better will start cutting childcare costs in half in 2022, make preschool free for many families starting in 2022, lead to the construction of additional housing units starting in 2022. What is the Republican plan for lowering costs, for addressing inflation, something they are very concerned about, but they don't seem to have any solutions for? I don't know what the Mad Hatter reference is, but that feels like it's more applicable. Very good.
Okay, we saw the president shopping indoors on Saturday behind glass that says face covering required, but his face was uncovered. Why?
The president is somebody who follows the recommendations and the advice of the CDC. I don't know what the circumstances were of that particular moment.
He was shopping in a store, and on the glass outside it said face covering required, and we could see him inside, and his face was uncovered.
Well, again, Peter, our recommendation and advice continues to be for people to wear masks when they are required in establishments. I don't know what this establishment was. The president obviously follows the advice of his health and medical team.
Is there concern that when the president says today, please wear your mask indoors in public settings around other people, and he doesn't do that, that it's going to make it harder to get people to follow him?
I think you see the American people, and all of you see the president wearing a mask every time he comes out to an event, when he's sitting in meetings, and certainly he will continue to model behavior he hopes the American people will follow.
Thank you. And I'm sure I'll see you between now and Christmas, but hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Thanks. Commission. Isn't this a pretty place? Yep. Just talk a little with me about what's going on.
Sure, I can. And first of all, I'd like to say thank you for allowing us to come together to maintain some sense of normalcy and to move forward with hope as you.
Before Joe Biden was president, he said that COVID travel restrictions on foreign countries were hysterical xenophobia and fear-mongering. So what changed?
Well, I would say first, to put it in full context, Peter, what the president was critical of was the way that the former president put out, I believe, a xenophobic tweet and how he called what he called the coronavirus and who he directed it at. The president has not been critical of travel restrictions. We have put those in place ourselves. We put them in place ourselves in the spring.
Joe Biden once described the Remain in Mexico policy as dangerous, inhumane, and goes against everything we stand for as a nation of immigrants. So why is he keeping it?
He continues to stand by exactly those comments and statements. And the Secretary of Homeland Security put out a memorandum conveying we want to end this program. But we also believe in following the law, and that's exactly what we're doing, as there was a ruling that required us moving forward with implementation.
Why hasn't the president visited the members of this Christmas parade attack?
Well, I would say first, as you saw the president convey last week, our hearts go out to this community, to the people in Waukesha, that we've been in touch, obviously, with officials there, and we're all watching as people are recovering, and this is such a difficult time of year for this to happen. It's difficult any time. Obviously, any president going to visit a community requires a lot of assets, requires taking their resources, and it's not something that I have a trip previewed at this point in time, but we remain in touch with local officials, and certainly our hearts are with the community as they've gone through such a difficult time. Go ahead.
Said that Dr. Fauci told him that he believes the current vaccines will provide at least some protection from the Omicron variant. Are you able to explain why that is? Why Dr. Fauci would come to that conclusion? You laid out all the steps that have to be taken before we can determine the vaccine's efficacy. How does the president's medical advisor get to that conclusion?
Well, I would say this is a question I also asked this weekend, so not that you need my validation, but I think what Dr. Fauci has conveyed and what he would explain if he were standing here is that there's no question that vaccines and the additional boosters help boost up your antibodies to fight the COVID virus, the COVID-19 virus. These are variants of the virus, something we're tracking. And
what lessons did the president learn from the Delta variant that he's applying here?
Well, look, I think that there are a lot of lessons we've learned that he's applying throughout. One is to be very transparent with the public and be direct about where there are unknowns and be clear that there is information we have at this point, and then there's information that we still need more detailed analysis from our health and medical experts.
Would it have helped if boosters were made more widely available sooner?
That's a difficult thing for me to assess as a non-medical expert, so I would point you to them to ask them that.
Reluctance is there. Has South Africa ever turned down vaccines from the United States?
They have not requested additional vaccines.
But have they turned down vaccines
Yes.
that we've offered to them?
So we have sent close to 8 million doses to South Africa, 13 million to Southern Africa, over 93 million to Africa, and 275 million to the world.
When did South Africa had turned down the vaccines from the United States?
I don't have any additional details beyond that. I would just note that we are prepared to provide them with additional doses when they're prepared to receive them.
Fundraiser late last month, Senator Gillibrand said Democrats are terrible at messaging. It's just a fact. Representative Susan Wild said that one of her constituents firmly believes the extra money in their bank account from the child tax credit is thanks to the former president. Do you agree with Senator Gillibrand's assessment? How do you plan to address some of the challenges the party has faced in selling its agenda?
And our message is very clear and coordinated and united across the Democratic Party. And now it's the time to do that, which is that the president's agenda, the Democratic agenda, is going to lower costs for people across the country and give them some more breathing room. That contrasts with what we're seeing from the other side, which is not a lot of ideas in the cupboard. And the president's going to be out there selling it. But I think I'll stop there. Go ahead.